This wall of stuff
Oh,
behind you, are those all game prototype pieces?
yeah, absolutely. It has come in very, very handy many times when I have the perfect piece for this. But the old method of having them all in a big bucket wasn't just working for me. So
The
I'm not
bucket is
even
yeah,
kidding.
definitely a Sean
that's
thing.
exactly what it used to look like.
I was just looking and I'm like, I am so not a professional game designer yet.
So
One
here's
little
a
box.
big bucket of they are pink penguin.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Tabletop Throwdown, the podcast where Sean Brown, Mark Street, and myself bring on folks from the tabletop industry to chat about games for the most part and also to have a little fun with it. Today's special guest is Scott Brady. Scott Brady has been responsible for quite a few awesome games that have been hitting the shelves the last few years, not the least of which are Hues Cues, Boop and its various iterations, as well as one of the favorites in my family, Caution Signs, which he co-designed with Danielle Reynolds. So we've got a lot of great stuff to talk about. Scott, welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you having me on.
Let's jump right in. Scott, I don't think I've ever heard you tell me how you actually got into game design. I know you've been working. I know you worked with Nicole on the Stay at Home Moms website for years and was helping with that for a while and still do, I believe. But like, what actually inspired you to take the plunge?
It's I guess I kind of took an interesting path into this. It was you're right. I was doing a lot of web design and maintenance for my wife's website. She was one of the original mom bloggers 20 years ago and worked with, companies like Netflix and McDonald's and Fortune 500 companies on their social media campaigns when influencers were first becoming a thing, but she needed someone to, maintain the website, do the graphics and all that. And that was kind of a hobby for me. So we were doing that for a number of years, and at some point we built up a nice good size audience of moms aged 25 to 45, and we were looking for other content to write about that wasn't washing machines and car tires and things like that. And so we played games as a family. I had two very young daughters at the time, and we started writing about games that we were playing as a family, just as some non sponsored content. And it was typical games we would find at Goodwill or maybe find on the shelf at Target or something like that. So that's how we as a family got into the games and started writing about them, publicly on the website. And it wasn't long that we started getting good traffic on the game stuff, and we reached out to a couple publishers. And I remember the first one was Tasty Minstrel Games, rest in peace. But we were, their line of games was a favorite of ours, and they were the first publisher to take a chance on a mom blog to write about their products. So we got to the point where toys and games became such a big part of our content. We kind of pivoted a little bit and focused more on things like that appealed to the entire family. So we were writing, oh my gosh, at some point, 6, 7, 8 full length articles a week with photos and social media promotion and things like that. And a game came across our desk that was a new release from Cryptozoic called Pantone, the game. And I was super excited about it because before all this, I had been in the printing industry for the better part of 2 decades. So I knew the brand. I had worked with Pantone products my previous career. And I was really, really looking forward to, okay, what's a game about Pantone going to be about? And while we enjoyed the game and, thought it was a lot of fun, to me personally, and this is no slam on the designer or Cryptozoic, but I didn't feel like the game mechanics matched the IP of the game. So, for those that don't know, Pantone is primarily known for its color matching system, and it's a way for designers and artists and even just customers to communicate about color, especially if they're in remote locations. So we can both look at the same chart, decide that we want a 286 blue, which is a nice medium blue color, and
It is.
yep.
Actually.
Yeah, I still have them up remembered or memorized. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Cheat sheet.
Yep.
No
cheat sheet.
thing on the side.
Nope. Show me a nice one.
I've got hex codes.
No,
I've got
yeah.
hex codes.
And
I know how
you get
it
to
is.
that point, right? So
Yeah.
it's a method that was invented to make discussion about color easier. Okay, so before that, as I'm sure you guys know, before we had things like matching systems, we described colors in very abstracts, especially with someone who's not in the printing industry. They'll say, "Oh, I want my business card to be blue." Okay, great. You know, what shade of blue? And then they'll say things like blue jean blue or royal blue or something like that. And that's still
Camaro blue.
yeah, exactly. So it's wide open to interpretation. So I was looking for something in this game that played on that basis of what Pantone was about. And Pantone the game is, in my opinion, would have better been named as like Photoshop the game, or because it's about making pictures, right?
Yes. Yep.
It's about taking Pantone swatches or things that look like Pantone swatches and making these cool little 8-bit drawings, and other people are trying to figure out what they are. So the gameplay and everything is fantastic. I just don't think it was married to the right IP. Personal opinion, again, no slam on the product at all. It was just my own.
I fully agree.
Yeah, it was my personal reason to say, wait a second, this isn't what I expected as a product from a Pantone game. So I just, in my head, in my spare time, started jotting down ideas and concepts about what it would look like if I was making the Pantone game, having this, what I thought was a broad knowledge about the IP, and went through about 7 iterations. It started as a card game. It went through all these different changes, just trying to capture the feel of what I'm sure a lot of your listeners that are in the graphics industry will agree is probably the worst part of their job, is trying to describe a color to a customer, right? Who doesn't know what Pantone is. And
Right.
it eventually became a game that I just played with my family, and I showed them, well, if I had made this is what I would make for Pantone. And we played it with some local friends at a game night, and it went over very, very well. And they were very encouraging that I should use our contacts in the toy and game industry that we'd already made. People like Mr. B. By then, we had already done some reviews for him. And
Nice.
it was when I first took it to a show at Gekitai, met with some publishers there that I knew who were super encouraging, loved it, wanted to sign it. But one of them, shout out to Shane at Gray Fox Games, pulled me aside and said, I would love to publish this game, but you need to look bigger, because he saw the real potential in what it could be. And quite honestly, I didn't have a clue as to how big it could be in mass market. So that's kind of how I got into it. You know, it was more of a personal challenge to create something, because I felt like I could have done something better for Pantone had I been approached. And I attribute that ability to all the years we spent reading and playing other people's games and reading rule books and learning about what was out there in the market, what sold, what didn't work, and that kind of thing. So I have to attribute, you know, the ability to do that to the experience I had, you know, writing for my wife's blog.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I gotta ask the burning question that I'm gonna guess is on everybody's mind right now, because it's on mine, and I can't sleep until I know this answer. This wall of stuff behind you, are those all game prototype pieces?
Yeah, absolutely. I
wonder about that. And that's what I was gonna guess. I really didn't want you to let me down on this.
No, that's absolutely. Every time I have it, extra pieces.
Sean's jealous. He's jealous.
My wife
tell.
and I will scour like Goodwill outlets, the bottom of the bins, and all for these loose pieces of Scrabble tiles or even the Game Crafter tables at Protospiel events, and we'll see something that piques our interest, and I'll grab them and bring them home and sort them out. And so it has come in very, very handy many times when I have the perfect piece for this. But the old method of having them all in a big bucket wasn't just working for me. So
yeah,
I literally
rumor.
This is hilarious because you're saying in a big bucket.
The bucket is definitely
that's exactly what it used to look like. And there's, as you can see right here, I don't know if you can see on screen or not, there's still a couple of these little buckets sitting around that I haven't quite finished sorting, but yeah, same.
And rumor has it that you have even more off camera.
Yeah, these are all the little drawers. Off to the side is another shelf that has bigger containers that maybe has bigger items. I'll grab one real quick just because it's more fun.
I was just looking and I'm like, I am so not a professional game designer yet.
So here's a big bucket of, they are pink penguin.
I love it.
Right? And it's only because I was working on a penguin theme game, and in order to get the parts that I wanted, I had to buy 500 of different colors. So there's a bucket of pink, a bucket of black, a bucket of blue. And, but yeah, so.
I was in a Tractor Supply. I think it was Tractor Supply. It might have been Murdoch's or something, but they had these small little farm animals.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working on a farming game. And I was like, oh my God, I need them all. And I'm like going through these bins and I've got just piles of these damn little, big things. Everybody's looking at me like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, you buy like $100 worth of farm toys. I'm like, research, damn it. Like, it's gonna make a great game.
Tell you, my favorite time of the year is coming up because when back to school session, when the retailers start stocking for back to school, especially at Target, they are noted for carrying these in their dollar section, these little bags of erasers. And they are all themed with animals or aliens or whatever, and they're exactly meeple sized. And they are super cheap and super well made. I tend to stock up every year.
Nice.
At Target.
My big one is every year, the day after Christmas, Barnes Noble and Go to the Game Store blow out all their Christmas. Like the holiday, and like they literally go from December 26th to the 31st. It's a 5-day sale, and they blow everything out. And I mean, God, last year I got the what was it? The Splendor with the glove, Thanos, whatever.
Yep.
And I'm like, this game is awesome. Why are they selling this thing for $15?
Yep.
I bought like 3 because I was like, now I can use them to make something else. And I kept one in shrink to give away at one of the game events, and I kept one to play, and it's still
cool. Yep. Nice.
All right. So to bring it back to this game that you were making.
Yep.
Stop
I'm
nerding
trying
out
to
about
think.
No,
it's fine. It's fine. Like, it's a podcast, man. We can do whatever. So this was what, like 2018, 2019?
2019, yeah. Late 2018, early 20. It was 2019 when I first started. I started working on it sometime in early 2018. It wasn't until 2019 till I really showed it to anyone outside my house.
And spoiler alert to our viewers, the game in question is, of course, Hues Cues, which I actually think, believe it or not, Scott, I actually bought that game before I met you.
Really? That's great.
Which is really funny because like that came out during the pandemic, did it not? Like it was like so many forces railed against that game, and yet it's doing gangbusters now. Am I right? Like
that's correct. And I have to 100% give credit to the publisher I ended up choosing, which was the USAopoly. So we signed it in around Gen Con of 2019, and they had fortunately had an opening in their production schedule and in their marketing schedule that they would able to get it to market a lot quicker than I discovered most publishers do today. So
Yeah.
it didn't, I had already drawn the board and done all that. So all they really had to do was worry about the box artwork and the rule, setting up the rule book and some of those. There wasn't a whole lot of dev that had to be done to it. And they went into manufacturing, showed it at the New York Toy Fair in early 2020, kind of behind the screens to let people know it was coming out. It was actually already in production in China at that time. And then while in production, COVID hit and the shutdown happened. And, here we are getting ready to release what a lot of people would classify as a party game because, it supports up to 10 players out of the box. And we're in production. The funds have been committed. And now no one's getting together in large groups. And so we had a long discussion about what's going to happen because, very quickly we learned that trade shows were being canceled, that for the foreseeable future that we could tell that, people just weren't able to gather with friends. What's going to happen? Is it's going to kill the game? But they really had no choice but to release it because it was already being produced. So there was no reason not to. So they, to their credit, they diverted their marketing budget, which was for trade shows and such for that year, and started doing some really creative things with online influencers and even did things with a nationally syndicated radio celebrity where they got copies into their hands and had those people talking about the game. Of course, social media was great because it's a visual product, it showed off well, but even, these radio spots from, heard nationwide helped it hit the ground. And by the time it hit the US, it was late May, early June. And so things were still locked down, but people were starting to purchase in anticipation of getting together. And through their marketing efforts, we got off to an okay start, still below what was predicted. But ever since then, as COVID, relaxed and we slowly got back to normal, we could just see it slowly grow month over month and quarter over quarter. And I have to say that once, everything was officially done, and we were back to somewhat normal, that's when social media really, really took off. And just some organic things happened that, we're getting millions and millions of views. And, that's the best kind of advertising we could have had because it was free and it was organic. And, now I know at one point the demand was so high, they were using multiple factories to manufacture the game, both in the US and overseas. And now, it's now in Target and Walmart and 13 or so different languages worldwide. And no complaints.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That is wild.
I was telling people, we were at a charity event here a couple weeks ago up in Broomfield. And we were helping a prototype thing upstairs, and Mike and Mark were down doing the live streams, and we were all over the place. It was a blast. And we were telling the designers all the time, just because there's already a pirate game or a ninja game or a zombie game doesn't mean you can't make a better one, right? All the time, so
or
the fact
a different one, even
totally, right? But like, because you saw something in that Pantone game that spoke to you and about your background. That's what I love about games is you could do anything. If you're a plumber, I don't know any really good plumber games right now, but I'm sure we could figure one out.
Right.
And then license it to
Mario,
Nintendo.
right? Mario's a good plumber game.
Mario. I was going to say.
Saying like, there's not a game where we're sitting there, putting epoxy on,
right? Exactly.
Exactly.
I've always said that everyone has one good game in them, just based upon their personal knowledge and their own expertise, right? I mean, the game market is such that there's so many esoteric little themes out there that from winemaking to we saw a pooping game at the last convention we were at. It's like everyone's got experience doing all these things, so. I think everyone's...
Sean, don't you have a pooping game? I think he's got a pooping game. Well, I got to say this, like Hues Cues has a permanent home on our shelf, right? Like
same.
When when I actually convince other members of my family to do this wonderful hobby that I enjoy, which is not as often as I would like, and it's usually when we have guests over, like Hues and Cues is like one of the first games that hits the table. And I think a big reason why myself and my family have latched onto it the way we have is because I have a design background. My wife is a fine artist, and all of my kids are artists in their own right. Like my youngest has aspirations to go work for Leica someday and do stop motion animation.
Nice.
Right. And so like Hues and Cues is a great game, not just for people, just for everybody, but for especially for people who do like have that kind of innate kind of sense of color theory, right? And the funny thing is that I feel like it also really illustrates incredibly well that kind of divide between people who do have that kind of color sense and people who don't, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Which were usually the people that I had to work with and please when I design things. And so I feel like it kind of when someone like gets it like way off, I'm like this is like that disconnect that I have with my I've had with my clients over the years.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
I've given away probably half a dozen copies now. I generally have one on hand that's in shrink that if someone comes over and plays, I can just hand them a copy.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
It's one of those games that I love. What?
It's been always good about that. And the other one I got one from you was the Last Light. I feel like you gave away a lot of those too. Those are kind of gateway games to get your non-gateway buddies in. And for me this year, I've had a bunch of people from other sides of life that don't normally game. And the big surprise for me this year has been Shapely. I don't know if you guys have played it, but it's phenomenal.
Oh, was that the one we played that last minute at the end of the okay, yes.
Yeah. And it has the little magnetic shapes on the boards, and you throw out a bunch of words, and then everybody has to try to guess who did the really shitty art.
That's
It's
awesome.
so fun, but it's so easy, and you just dive in real quick, and they're fast rounds, and
you should check that one out, Scott. It reminded me a lot of Caution Signs.
Well, I'm going to get my attorney right on it.
Yeah.
Not that bad, not that much.
Sorry, Disney.
I too have given away several of Scott's games over the last handful of Christmases.
Boop as
I
well.
usually pick one game every year to like give away to people for gifts, and then I just buy like a stack of them. One year was Boop, another year was Caution Signs. Like those are both hugely popular in my house too.
And that gives you kind of
Scott, I might be a super fan.
No,
honestly.
that's great. That's great. And it kind of gives you the idea of where I like to design, right? So when I play a game, I'm sitting down and playing nice heavy games from Lacerda or Feld or someone like that, right? That's what I enjoy typically to play, something thinky, something real meaty. But when I design, I'm more designing for the experience that players have, and I want to design things that my in-laws will play, my kids would play, and that typically means super light rules, but the game is in the game itself, right? Maybe it's in the player's head, or maybe it's in the social experience. And I think all of those give you good examples of games that fit that criteria.
Yep. And I like the good thinky game too, but I definitely love experiential type gaming where it's like those kinds of games. I come away with more stories from a game night than a big thinky game ever. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I said, "Oh, do you remember that time I took that action and I went up a influence point? That was amazing."
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Do you remember that point salad where I got like 20 points in my salad?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Really known.
Remember when I traded all that wood for sheep? No way.
But people still remember the whole, do you have change for 50 million people when you nuke them in Nuke War?
Right. Yeah.
But, outside of that.
So I'm curious, what's a mechanic for any of your games that you've worked on that you're like, boy, this is going to be awesome on paper, and then you played it and went, well, that was pretty terrible?
Well, that's an interesting. I've tried a number of things, and I remember. I'll grab it and show you.
Okay.
This will only take a sec because I still have another bucket full.
Oh, this is my jam.
So
Scott.
I don't remember too well of what it was, and it had to do with it was definitely a much lighter mass market game, and it had something to do with a dog's face or something that people wore. And I wanted to, I needed to have a way for their hands to remain free. So the idea was I went out and I bought a bunch of pacifiers.
Okay.
And then I started breaking off this part so I could glue to, whatever I was doing. People would hold it in their mouths. And then COVID hit. And I'm like, no. So, things like, because if you remember, right before COVID, one of the biggest games was that Big Mouth game.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, now our mindset about things like that post-COVID are very, very different. So this idea of holding something in your mouth that eventually is going to go back in the box, washed or not. Yeah. So I've got, if you know anyone who needs a whole bunch of plastic party pacifiers,
put that
I've got
one
them
in the
covered.
Origins game library.
Yeah.
Scott, I know it. I know it. Use this.
I'll save this for the Gamma board.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I've got to get one in there.
Good. Yeah.
Well, I got one for you, Scott. We were at a dinner at PAX together last year. We got kicked onto the kids' table. We didn't get to go to the cool kids' table.
Okay.
And we were talking, hanging out or whatever. And we were talking to, I think it was Jacob. I don't remember his publishing company because I'm drawing a blank.
Friendly Skeleton.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we were talking about it, and you were talking about these failed games that you don't do in your mouth. So I was going to pitch you on a game that we could make and pitch to Jacob. But the problem is, it's called Fudge'em, and you open it and you put it in your mouth, and then you try to smack each other until you spit it out. And it's probably not a good idea, but we could use your pacifiers.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I think that's the game I was confusing for a poop game.
That's why they're little fudge nuggets, and you throw them at each other and try to make each other laugh. I'm telling you, it's going to be a hit.
You can do a whole series of failed games that never made it to pitch. Especially for people doing it for mass or something. Like the Fudge'em or whatever. That would be a hilarious.
Well, hey, if you want to design it, I'm here, buddy. We can code it.
Well, that actually brings up something. That actually brings up something that I wanted to talk about. Scott, you've been doing a lot of collaborations lately. Can you tell us a bit about that and how that's just kind of come about?
Yeah, so it's been fun, actually. When I designed Hues and Cues and Boop, they were solo projects. A lot of them, Boop also came as a result of COVID. And, at the time, people were looking for 2-player games. So that's why I started working on Boop again because of the lockdown. But once things started opening up and I had some success with, by now Hues and Cues is doing really well, and I'm doing the show circuit and things like that. I am fortunate to have a lot of designers go, hey, I just want your opinion on this, right? And there have been times that collaborative ideas have come from those just one-on-one discussions, and either they will ask me or I will ask them simply, do you want to work on this together? I see a spark here. I feel like I've done a good job of taking a game and turning it into a product that publishers are interested in. I think with just this and this and this, we can have something exciting here. So, one of those was, as you mentioned earlier, was Caution Signs with Danielle Reynolds. Her and I came up with the idea together. We had become friends after having met at a show, and it was just an interesting conversation her and I had one day about seeing funny warning signs actually out and about. In the meantime, there have been other designers that I've worked with. Most of them haven't come out yet, but we've got quite a few on the slate. One of them was a is a game from Queen Games called Out of Words that was just released. Actually, just this month is the official release date here in the US. It was released in Germany last year, and it was a co-design with Mike Davis, who is a new designer down in Florida. And that one just got released. I have one where a gentleman, a designer, a published designer from Italy approached me because he had a cat themed game and like Boot. We ended up converting the theme from cats to something else, and that'll be out from Play to Z here right after Gen Con. So I really
Cats are
enjoyed.
mine, man. Stay away from cats.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got
exactly.
the corner on cats.
Well, I mean, you have to admit you're seeing a lot of cat stuff right now, so it was more. It was more trying to deviate from the norm. But I've really enjoyed the collaborative process one-on-one, and it's been a journey to, find the people who work in the same manner I do. I mean, I've tried with some designers, and just either our schedules didn't work together or our design philosophies just didn't mesh as well. But I've found quite a few that have been just a joy to work with, and yeah, I'm excited for a lot of things that are happening in the future.
Awesome.
Very cool.
So Boop, tell us a little bit about Boop, because that's quite an interesting jump from Hues and Cues to Boop. Tell us like kind of how that happened.
Sure.
I'm really curious.
So I grew up on abstract games. We played chess and checkers and Go and all those things growing up. So I've always had this interest in those 2-player perfect information type games. And literally during COVID, I was getting messages on BGG and emails about, do you have a 2-player variation for Hues and Cues? And because out of the box, it supports 3, it really doesn't shine until you get a 4, but, for marketability, we included 3, but it does not work. The scoring system does not work for 2 players as a game, right? You can do it as an activity, but there's not a competitive nature to it. So after spending a couple fruitless months trying to come up with a 2-player version for Hues and Cues, then I just started thinking about, okay, what else can I do? First of all, I felt like I needed to prove that it wasn't going to be a one-hit wonder situation with Hues and Cues. So I felt a desire to make something different. And so the natural thing was to start thinking about abstracts, because that's what I was playing and that's what I enjoy. And I discovered a mechanic that I believed had never been done in a published game, and what we now call the Shockwave mechanic, or the boot mechanic, is where you place a piece on the board and everything just radiates out from it. There had been games that had done some kind of magnetism where they pull things in, or positive negative polarity where they push or pull, but nothing that really said shockwave, like a bomb exploding or a meteor hitting the ground or something like that. So I started literally just playing around with the mechanic, with the idea of it being a 2-player game. What didn't have any idea what the end condition would be, didn't have any idea the size of the board or the theme or anything. And it was probably a good 6 to 8 months of trial and error of trying to find what I thought worked mechanically, including not collaboration, but some consultation online with a couple of the abstract game forums. And one gentleman offered to take a late stage version of what I had made and program it into at the time, we called it AI. It's not really AI, but it's an automation process where a computer can play against a computer. And so I was able to take this game and have a computer play itself 10,000 times per hour to look for loops and first player advantages and broken strategies and things like that. And that eventually became the game that I called Gekitai. And Gekitai is the Japanese word for push away in a military sense, or push back. And so that's what I was calling it. And I uploaded it to BGG, the rule set, which is what today as the original Boop without the graduation. It's the kids' version of Boop with just kittens. and I uploaded it to BGG and gave it away for free. Put up a print and play, and this is still during lockdown. I'm like, hey, this is a 2-player game that I invented, and then it started getting a ton of downloads. And I started seeing, if you search YouTube, you'll see videos from Russia, from all over the world, of people who had built their own copies and were teaching it, and then linking back to BGG. And I'm like, oh, that's super. For me, that was a great point of pride, just to see how far it got so fast.
Well, and if people took something you made and they wanted to make it, like take time to print it and cut it and laminate it and do all that stuff, like that's super cool.
Well, and there were people who were like wood turning pieces and like going into the high levels of craftsmanship, and it was super fascinating. So I decided to pitch it and got pretty far with Gekitai and their abstract game line, but everyone else in the US was like, oh, it's a themeless abstract, they don't sell well, I can't market this, I don't know how to place this, et cetera, and including one of the people who I just blind mailed a copy to was Kurt Covert at Smirk and Dagger. I just sent it to his home. We'd known him for many years. I had his home address. I just sent it to him. It was on his porch one day when he came home from a show. He's like, WTF is this? And he tried it. Him and his family loved it. But again, I don't know how I would sell this. So I took it back and literally spent almost a full year playing with different themes and also trying to make it more than a 5-minute game, which it was at the time. And that's when we came up with the idea of Pieces That Graduate. And this is all still in abstract form. And the Pieces That Graduate, I uploaded to BGG, gave it away for free. It was called Gekitai Squared. With the little 2, so that's on there. People started playing that and still could not get it signed, and finally had the idea from seeing that classic commercial on TV of the guy selling mattresses where he sets the wine glass on the mattress and he jumps on the bed. And I'm like, oh, things jumping on a bed. I really didn't want to do cats because it seemed like such low-hanging fruit.
It does.
I mean, I tried meteors, I tried raindrops, sumo wrestlers, anything that did, some kind of action to the ground. But in the end, I built a little bed. I had some cats 3D printed by a friend. And the first person I showed it to that following year was, again, Kurt at Smirk and Dagger at Gekitai to the West. And he actually asked what I had done with it because it was still on his mind. And I pulled it out and I said, let me show you what I've done. And I pulled out this 3-dimensional bed and plopped it on the table. And he looked at it. We didn't even play it. He looked at it and he goes, I can sell this. And at the time,
yeah, he can.
Yeah, he can. It was my name for it at the time was Pounce House, which I thought was a cool name. And it was thanks to one of his play testers during a play session that someone said, oh, I'm going to boop you off the bed. And then that's where the name stuck.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
It was super brilliant. Like, I mean, I literally say boop every time.
And that was the key.
Same.
Every time.
So if it had been Pounce House, okay, it would have done all right. But the brilliance of that name, Kurt called me right away and asked me what I thought. And I literally, he wanted my opinion because he knew that Hues Cues was what I had called Hues Cues. And at the time, I was disappointed with the name change to Hues Cues, which is a whole nother story. So he wanted my opinion on boop, and I said, I really, really like my name, Pounce House. I think it's very marketable, but I have to admit, I think your name is better. And solely because not only was it a cute name, it, like you said, it gave a person something to say while playing the game. And that was the difference, right? A normal abstract game, when you move a knight in chess, you don't go, I L'd you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it gives something for the family to say, go boop, or I booped you off the bed. Yeah, so that was brilliant.
Well, and it just enhanced like the cuteness factor.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you got two people at the table just saying boop, 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 boop. Like it's golden. No, like that's such a good.
What's amazing to me
matchup.
is, as you know, they now have national tournaments for the game, and this will be the third.
I have come close to winning one.
I have it.
Well, a regional
one. Yeah. So all over they have regional and state and regional tournaments, and then it all culminates at Gen Con, where they have, I believe it's 50 finalists from around the country come into Gen Con, and it is completely amazing to me to walk up on that and you see 25 boards set out with 50 people staring at cats on a bed like this. And then all of us, you just sit there and don't say anything. All you hear is people going boop, boop, boop throughout the whole area. It's such a, peanut butter and bananas kind of thing where there's two things you don't think that would go together. That is is hilarious to watch.
So good.
Is that Envoy where they're doing that in the Envoy rooms?
Yes. Every year. It's hilarious.
I was like, I just want to know because, those guys are awesome, right? They if you really want to know the heroes of any game convention, it's the demo team people. It's the Envoy guys. It's the people in the booths. I mean, because honestly, those guys are all just gamers that are just coming to the show and working a shift so they can get in there and get their sweat.
Yep.
And they're the hardest working guys out there. And that's just super cool, man. They do so much good stuff. So I'm glad they're running tourneys for you. And that's got to be awesome, right? Walking in there. And I can almost hear it, right? Walking into a big old crowded, noisy Gen Con hall and just hear,
that's exactly what happens. It's hilarious every time. It does not get old.
Yeah, Sean, actually the tournament that I got really high on the ladder on was at Beacon. Yeah, nice. I got high enough to win a copy of the game, and I'm like, I've given away 10 copies of this game. I have this. I have all of the variations, and there was one person there that was just didn't make the cut, and I was just like, well, you want this, don't you? And I gave them the copy. I was like,
that's nice.
Enjoy. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
And so you've had so many how many versions of variations of Boop have come out now?
So we just released the 4th version if you include the card game, which just came out.
Right.
So Boop,
which we
Boop
just reviewed.
Okay, great. I have to check that out.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
So there was Boop,
review up on the channel.
Yeah, there was the Halloween version, which was basically the same game with a mini expansion included and even cuter art, I felt.
Yeah, I did too. It's my favorite version.
Yeah, it's also the best value, right? Because you get the base game plus something a little extra for the same price.
Yep.
Just a side note, one of the interesting things that I don't think you'll hear from about any other publisher. When Boop originally came out, it had an MSRP of $35, and that was based upon the cost of the quilt we had to make, because it comes with its own little quilt. It's got 16 really super chunky meeples that are all custom printed. So there's a decent amount of cost in the production of it. And so MSRP was $35. But thanks to the success of it, they actually elected to reduce the MSRP, which you never hear much about publishers doing that. And so it came down quickly to 30 after the second print run, and he was starting to able to order enough at a time to get his cost down. He then passed that along to the consumers. And I don't know that $5 makes a huge difference in, the total volume that you sell, but I think it really says a lot about Smirk and Dagger as a publisher and what they're trying to provide. Absolutely. So I want to give that little shout out to them.
Yeah, definitely. Kurt, I mean, he's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I can remember at that PAX last year where you and I were hanging at the dinner. I was in on load up day and I was walking around and, they still have the pipe and drape up and that show, they let you drive the trucks into the floor, where your booth is, which is super awesome. Just back up, come to crap. And we're all standing around and I see Kurt with his arm out, and he's driving a big old Penske truck, and I go, Kurt, what are you doing? And he goes, what? I'm trying to back this thing, and I go, you've got people that could do that, dude. You run what are you doing moving the truck? But that's the dude.
That's the one. The guy. That's a blessing and a fault of his, right? He's
100%. But I'm like yelling at him. No, what are you doing? And Corey Thompson looks at me, and he's like, that's kind of hypocritical right there. Fair, because I probably just drove one of somebody else's trucks that I was helping, but whatever. It was wild to see him backing up a truck and all of his employees are like, God, go this way. No,
Yeah,
this way.
they've seen him drive trucks before.
It was a great memory seeing that, and what a cool company. It's awesome that they're doing so much with you in the game, and like, man, this is cool stuff. I've never, like, we've run so many times into each other and together and like hung or whatever, but like this is the first time I've really gotten to like sit down and hear your game design brain and process, and it's awesome.
I appreciate that. No, working with
this has been great.
Yeah.
I actually want to talk about Boop Shuffle real quick.
Okay, sure.
So I've
not played it yet.
When Kurt sent that game, I was like, this is mine. I'm doing this one. And it coincided with our launch of the new YouTube channel for Gaming Turn Tabletop. And so I was like, oh, this will be a good one to do for the YouTube channel. And Scott, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to look at the video yet. I posted it at Origins.
Yep.
I did get in a reference to Beep Boop.
Yes,
you
you did.
saw it. And there's my own little cleverness, so to speak. But while I was reviewing the game, first of all, I was really intrigued by how you changed the core mechanic into a shared deck. Like, that really fascinated me, and it was really kind of the standout of Boop Shuffle. And like, while I was reviewing it, I was thinking, man, I wonder, because my one gripe was, and I know why you did it, and the table, the amount of space it takes up on the table is considerably more than original Boop, which is ironic because the box is literally this big,
right,
and this thin, right? And so, and it's all you're doing is defining the two of the sides of the bed. And I was playing it with my wife, and she was like, we were having to correct a lot in order to like make sure we were in the right placement. I'm like, man, I love this card mechanic, but I love the original bed. And then I came up with an idea to combine the two. And I actually posted it in our newsletter last week, and I may or may not have shot some video for it.
Yeah, I saw that. That's right.
Yeah. I call it Boop Shuffle. Boop Shuffle Boop.
Boop Shuffle Boop. Not Beep Boop though.
But you're basically, it's like the deck it programs what happens on the board, and then I used like some iron clays to kind of indicate statuses, because I loved the new kind of board states that some of the, like the star card and the scaredy cat card brought to the game. I gotta wonder, it's one of those things where I'm like, all right, I can't be the first person to think of this idea. Certainly Scott,
prototype that he can't announce.
I bet Scott has already thought of this.
Well, and I'll try to keep the story short, but so, when coming up with Boop Shuffle, we had always wanted to do not a travel version, but something with cards that was more travel friendly, and because we felt there was an opportunity there. So the idea of the shared deck just came through some testing that I was doing, because as you know that, an original Boop, you each have your own little 8 cat or kitten team, right? And it would have been super easy just to recreate Boop in card form and just call it a day. But we've never wanted to just do that. We've always, even with the Halloween and the Christmas versions, we wanted to add something different, give people a reason to have more than one and give them a slightly different experience. The idea of shuffling them together and then being forced to play what you draw, not even working from we've tested working from a hand and all this, and it was just more exciting to draw and be like, oh, that's not the one I want, now I have to do something with it, right did change the experience of the game completely, and we loved it. We loved that experience. When I pitched it to Kurt, when I first showed it to him, that's all the game was there was no extra action cards. There was nothing else. I was pitching just the new experience, but with a virtual bed. No borders, no nothing. That the bed, the 6x6 grid would actually shift as the game went along. based upon the state of the board. And I think that has actually ended up in the rules as an advanced variation.
It did.
What we discovered was that was too difficult for many people to resolve, because picturing this virtual bed and imagining when things boop off the bed and when they don't could be frustrating for some people. So our solution was, as it's in the box, is this grid on the side, to define the bed.
Yeah.
Now, to answer your question specifically, no, we did not consider that. You are the first to come up with that idea of using it as a programming deck with the original game. So that's, I'll send you a check next month.
No, I actually, it's funny because.
And you're good.
No, I literally want to get another copy of Boop Shuffle just so I can have a deck in my Boop box.
Well, I will
right?
leak this. So I had a long discussion, I actually had a short discussion with Kurt at the Origins Game Fair. It was the game has been out a month at that point, but it was the first time it was actually at a convention. So the sales were going really well. They actually sold out. But I had a lot of people who were able to purchase it, play it that night, and then come find me the next day and give me their opinions. And we did hear from more than one person about how difficult, even with the neoprene edge markers, that they were still having some difficulty resolving the other sides. And their solutions were, can we get 2 more for the other side of the bed, that kind of thing. After talking to Kurt, the idea that I had, and we are investigating the cost effectiveness of it, is to simply replace those neoprene edge markers and go kind of back to the idea of original Boop, where you get a quilt. But in this case, it's just simply imagine the material of the, that we use to clean our glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay. So just a printed fold up thing. It's been done in a couple other games before, but it would be the entire blanket of the board, and it's still nice and portable. It's going to fold up nice and small and fit in that same box. And see if maybe, I know that would be a better solution visually. So there may be a second edition if that works out, or a manner where it just becomes something we can give away as a promotional item.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Hopefully nobody uses them as handkerchiefs.
I was also thinking you could solve that by even just adding like bed cards, right? So that you put those bed cards out first.
That is something that we tried. That definitely increased the cost of the product, because it was another 36 cards, which is almost double what's in there.
That's a lot, yeah.
We played around with neoprene strips that made a crosshair pattern instead of, so it went across the bed, which worked fantastic because you were only having to visualize 4 3x3 squares.
Yeah.
But overall, it's like, okay, why are these going through the middle of the bed? It didn't make thematic sense.
Right.
So we did test many things before landing on those edge things, but I guess our playtest groups must have had better spatial awareness than some other consumers. So we may adjust that. We'll see.
Cool.
But yeah, idea. I've had ideas like getting another. I think Kurt said that you guys were thinking about selling additional meeple versions of the meeples.
That happened last year, actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I need to get hold of some of those.
Yeah.
Because I want to actually put the symbols on the meeples.
Okay.
For the Boop Shuffle.
Well, and you could. Variant. So those are called kitten caboodles, and they were released at PAX Unplugged, Gen Con last year. And
I remember seeing them.
There are there's 4 different sets of different cat breeds. And so people can purchase an entire set and play with their cat breed. It's all new art, new shapes, and they retail, it's only $12 for a set.
Yeah. I'll have to, if he has a Gen Con,
you could purchase 1 or 2 of those and just substitute those for the special cats. You wouldn't even have to put the symbols on them. They could just be, because they're, because they look different.
Whip out some paint markers,
there you go.
Spiral on it,
Yep.
Yep. But
tricking.
And then I was going to have my wife sew a little blanket.
Okay.
For like one day.
So the blanket card, that would be cute.
Yes. Well, no, I really enjoyed it. Really love the Boop series. Love the Beep Boop idea. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, that should finally hit next year.
Yes.
Keeps getting delayed.
Does anybody else hear Cleveland's voice when I hear Beep Boop?
I do now.
Now I do.
Now I do.
Blue Harvest, that's the opening line. It's Cleveland's voice going Beep Boop. And like, I'm just saying, you probably can't use that, but you're welcome for that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's how we do it in my neighborhood, bitch.
But on that note, we call that a segue because, Scott, we got to ask you the biggest, burningest question ever. Theatrical releases only. How would you put the Star Wars movies in order from best to worst?
Top three.
Oh my gosh.
Three.
So I have to admit, I have not seen them all. I am a Trekkie, not a Star Wars guy.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
So
we can respect that here.
Yeah.
We can respect that.
And I recently went back and introduced my daughters to the original three. And of course, they hold up to some extent. I think my favorite is still Phantom Menace. And
we get a lot of that.
Yeah. And I think it's more for, I don't know that it's necessarily for the story or anything. I just think it felt the most modern of them all. And the special effects were great. And I mean, you have to go back. You got to put you got to put Empire Strikes Back in the top three somewhere.
Yes.
And of course, the original one as well. So I guess.
So you're an OG trilogy.
I think so.
All right. So we got to do the bonus follow-up then. Top three Trek movies.
Yes.
Wrath of Khan is number one.
Number one.
Yeah.
100%.
Boy, I guess I don't necessarily have a favorite of the original ones. We're still more fans of, I think our favorite series is Enterprise. So
Enterprise was fantastic. So underrated.
Yes. Underrated,
really
followed closely by Next Generation, of course.
Yeah. And I can tell you that between the two shows, the Enterprise sets were so much cooler.
Yes. We
sets.
really enjoyed Enterprise.
Yeah.
And both my wife and I were big into Deep Space Nine. That one, Voyager came out during a time where we couldn't get it on our cable channel. So never did actually watch all of the Voyager series, but yeah.
The really amazing thing about DS9 was that on those sets, you felt like you were actually there because it wasn't compartmentalized. You were actually on the promenade and all that. It was phenomenal.
I think I loved Deep Space Nine because it was the first one that you had other races that played major parts in the show. Of course, original series, you met all these different aliens, but they were there for an episode and they were gone. When they really dug into all the, especially the Ferengi and stuff like that, and the Cardassians, I loved rooting for them, even though they were the bad guys.
Yeah, definitely.
That was the first series that I really felt like it built the backstory behind what all these different species were out there and were known for. So,
and it spawned so many neat things like the Defiant. That ship is awesome.
Yep.
For me, Trek, I usually go 246, Wrath of Khan, Voyage Home, and what's that called?
Undiscovered
Country.
Yeah. That. But I mean, I did like
I like Search for Spock. I like the motion picture.
Yeah.
Like the motion picture is a weird one, but just that visual sequence where Spock is going into V'ger is just
cheesy.
I loved it. No, dude, I loved it. Just visually, just amazing.
Well, there's that new re-release digital one that they have. It's so much better than it was originally. So
yes.
Well, and they recut all the outside scenes with real ships and real shooting, and now it doesn't look so terrible. And I like the one where they did on DS9, where they did the time warp thing, and the Trouble with Tribbles were there, and Harry Mudd was walking around. And like Cisco and them are hiding in the air vents, and like the way they did that, like watch Kirk walk by and then like they poke out and stuff. I was like, man, this was brilliantly done.
The best part of that episode is the whole thing with Worf. Or like, wait, those are Klingons? And Worf, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah. When we lived in Los Angeles many years ago, and I know, Mark, this isn't going to mean much to you considering your background, but we were super excited my wife and I got to attend in Pasadena the very first show where it was the four captains.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
And,
very cool.
that was a big moment for us to see all them on stage together. And, of course, this was pre any of the new stuff. It was simply Picard and Kirk and Cisco and Janeway, I guess, at the time.
Janeway,
Yep.
right. Yeah.
Well, she didn't do a flyby on your episode, so tell her we're going to have her on as a guest here pretty soon. So, pressure's on. We're going to wear her down.
So I watched some Deep Space Nine. I didn't get into it nearly as much at the time. In all fairness, this was during the period of my 20s where I wasn't doing anything but partying, if I'm going to be really honest. And then when I came out of that and like suddenly got married and had a kid, I'm like, crap. I started like getting back into the things that I loved, and I was about to start watching more Star Trek, and then I found Farscape, and Farscape was like so diametrically opposed to like Star Trek by that point, because Star Trek, obviously Deep Space Nine went into some interesting areas that Star Trek hadn't gone in before, but it was so predominantly like forehead prosthetics, peaceful quasi-military force exploring the galaxy, et cetera, et cetera. And Farscape, like right out the gate, is like the main character doesn't understand anything. All the other characters are attacking him. One of them farts helium, and half of the aliens are Muppets. And I'm like, this is great. This is fantastic. And
it really,
so
to me, it always felt like it was
spoiled it for me. And I need to go back and revisit some of the Star Trek I missed out on. I don't know. Farscape always felt like a version 2 of Buck Rogers. The old Gil Gerard series. I love that.
Started going after Buck Rogers back then.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
God. That was Gil Gerard, right?
Yeah, Gil Gerard. Right? Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Man. But Wilma Deering, she might have been my first on-screen love, dude. I'm just saying.
I know her a little bit. She's really nice. So my buddy Peter Macon from the Orville, he does stuff with her, so I got to spend some time with her at Dragon Con. It was really fun.
She was the only reason I watched Silver Spoons.
Oh.
Wow. Silver Spoons. You're showing your age, Michael.
I'm in good company here, guys. Come on.
So, since Scott and I have a connection to Kevin Sussman, I have to ask, did you watch the new trailer for his new show yet?
Caught a trailer and can't wait. Can't wait. Yeah. It is much more than I thought it was going to be.
Same.
It is when I was given the premise of it, I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm a Big Bang Theory fan. This is going to be a neat follow-on, almost kind of like the spinoff from Young Sheldon.
Oh, yeah.
And then the new series with, the name escapes me now, with Sheldon's brother.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Anyway,
I don't remember the name.
Yeah, so I just saw it as kind of a follow-on or whatever. But then when I saw the trailer, I was like, this is, even without the Big Bang Theory connection, I would totally watch it.
Oh, exactly right. They've got a whole like next level direction with it, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm super excited.
I'm really, really excited. And I saw a clip recently that wasn't part of the bigger trailer, but my favorite part was I had to text Kevin because I'm like, that's amazing. There's one line he throws in there, or they had him throw in there, and he's like, I'm very new to the action genre.
Yeah.
It was so perfect. It was just so perfect.
His deadpan is amazing.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I kind of bounced off of Big Bang Theory. My youngest loves Young Sheldon, but
well, did you know in Young Sheldon, sorry to derail, but I have to throw this out there. Did you know in Young Sheldon, the Star Trek official fan club, they actually used one of our magazines from back in the day into like 2 episodes. It was so cool.
That's cool.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. And I've been seeing like for some reason, my social media feeds have been like just filled with Big Bang Theory clips. And I'm like, is my phone telling me I'm a nerd or something? Like,
I have to admit, when it first came out, we didn't watch it at all either, because I think it was like overhyped. It felt like I was hearing so much about it. And so we didn't start watching it until the 5th season or so. And then we were like, we need to go back and watch these in order, because there's actually, you can see the characters grow over time. And we ended up doing that.
Well, yeah, even so. Kevin's character was such a huge from the first time you see him till later.
Right.
Such a huge move for that character.
Right.
So after seeing several clips now of Big Bang Theory, like I originally thought that I bounced off of it because I felt like it kind of hit too close to home. Like I felt like people were laughing at people like me.
Right.
And not in a good way. And then after seeing a bunch of clips, I was like, "Oh, that's not it at all. I know why why I bounced off of it. It's because it's Friends with nerds."
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah,
and I hated Friends. I hated Friends.
Yes. Well, I
absolutely loathed that show.
I mean,
I
Big Bang is one of the
show.
Michael.
I think Big Bang is one of the big contributing factors to the reason that nerds are now cool.
That's funny. I was going to say the exact same thing. I think there's an argument to be made for how they contributed to the shift in the cultural, perception of geekdom.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
no, and I recognize that, and that's why I was like, oh, okay, all right, that makes more sense to me. That this is why I didn't care for it.
You probably wouldn't have had things like Stranger Things and such like that hadn't it been for the success of Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Good case study point there. I like it. You're changing my mind a little bit.
We can't all be Archie Bunker, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was thinking of other things, and your connection to Stranger Things is right? It because we always laugh about, can relate to playing D&D in 1980, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it was, and so you saw those kids doing it, and you're like, I can smell that base meal. I know what that do as their.
That was me. 100%. No, I told my kids, I was like, that was me. Same year, same activity, that summer, 100%. Right here. So. Yeah, I will say this, like, if anybody's out there who hasn't watched Big Bang Theory, don't not watch it because of anything I'm saying. because honestly, like, after seeing Supergirl couple of days ago, like, my general, like, mode of thought going forward is now going to be, I don't ever want to hear what the internet says about any movies or TV shows, period, anymore, because they're just dead wrong. And like,
it's just because it's more trendy to dislike everything, I think.
Yeah, no, I hate the monetization of meanness.
I agree.
Sucks. But like, Supergirl was great. Like, all right, let me rephrase that. Supergirl was really good. It wasn't great. It wasn't horrible. It was certainly entertaining, and I would watch it again. I enjoyed it more than Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, me too.
Which is not really saying that much.
That part was kind of low.
Yeah, but yeah, I really enjoyed the heck out of that. I really enjoyed Masters of the Universe. I thought those were great summertime flicks that I wish would have come out in the 80s. When a lot of genre stuff was just falling flat, right?
Yeah.
Like,
are you saying you didn't like Dolph Lundgren as He-Man in the original and his cameo?
I did
not. Are you saying that?
Oh, I liked his cameo. Was fine.
His cameo was great.
Cameo was fine. His portrayal of He-Man in the original was.
But Mike, he will crush you. Oh, wait, wrong movie.
Yeah,
they're all about the same. Van Damme, all of them, they're all like, they're in that same camp for me. You know what's interesting is Mike Dunn's head looks like it's floating on a black background right now, and it's really kind of weird.
No, it's kind of like a little Max Headroom.
Yeah, a little bit, because it's just like your head and your like little devil chin goatee.
See, if I should see, that would be a little.
Well, now you ruined it. Now people are
I'm
going to
feeling an 80s music video out of him.
Definitely.
You know, I could
Oh my
go
gosh,
full face
yeah.
paint and do the zombie from Pee-wee's Playhouse.
This is
I
true.
think you should. I think you should. Next episode.
Mecca lecca
Well,
hi, mecca hiney ho, bitches.
Yeah. We'll definitely have to have you back
Mecca
on, though,
lecca.
Scott. This was fun. We'll definitely have to have you back on another episode.
Yeah. This has been great, Scott. I'm so glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And I look forward to seeing you at Gen Con in a few weeks.
Yes, same.
We'll be at Gen Con
Definitely.
for sure. Hopefully debuting some new things. We'll see if
Cool.
if they get shipped in time. And yeah, excited to show
I'm
them
all
off.
about new things.
No, literally, Mark is all about new things. That's all he.
I am.
It's
like
the
he's
new
just the new
all
thing
by
maybe
guy.
even-
yourself, baby.
Maybe even beyond that, because I'm kind of cult of the future since I'm dealing with games that will be out in a year usually.
I
Which
say
is
we coin it right now today, my friend, and we call it "You're the cult of the new."
The new.
well. The funny thing is that he's actually balancing, offsetting that considerably with his new retro video game
Exactly.
series on the main
It's
channel,
true.
where
It goes
he's
super new, super retro.
That's right.
It's great.
it's
check
either
it out.
really old or really new. There's no in
But
between. with
It's
Mark.
also old and new, right? Because it's all new systems of the old. So yeah, anyway.
or would that be new old?
New, man. So many possible.
Old,
That's a
new,
great
old.
question.
All right, this is deteriorating.
It is. Thank you so much, my friend.
Appreciate you guys having me.
This was great.
Thanks for going on, Scott.
All right, definitely hit that like and subscribe. We got a lot of great coverage coming, a lot of great reviews and previews and stuff. So stay tuned to Gaming Trend Tabletop, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Like what you just watched? Not only can you find more great videos here on our YouTube channel, you should go check out GamingTrend.com, the longest running independent game and gaming culture site on the web. From the table to the screen and everything in between, at Gaming Trend we cover video games and tabletop games, tech and gear like 3D printers, and even film, television, and comic books.
You'll find the latest news, reviews, and previews alongside our in-depth editorials, weekly newsletters, and the latest season of our tabletop podcast, Tabletop Throwdown.
Also, importantly, Gaming Trend is by humans for humans. No AI is used to generate our content, and we try not to platform products that use what we consider to be exploitative technologies.
So yeah, definitely like and subscribe here, but also go check out GamingTrend.com. We do a lot more than just videos.